Live in Western Oregon, this is NBC 16 News at 5.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Jacqueline Mazer. Governor Brown announces Oregon counties can apply to reopen as early as Friday, May 15th. But first, counties must meet certain prerequisites. Let's break them all down for you. A decline in hospitalizations and ER visits for people with coronavirus or with symptoms, a minimum testing regimen. Counties need to have the ability to implement contact tracing, a plan for isolation and quarantine facilities. Finalize statewide sector guidelines, sufficient healthcare capacity. And lastly, counties need to prove they have sufficient PPE supply. But health officials acknowledge that the number of cases will increase. Now, if counties are approved to enter phase 1 on May 15th, what exactly does that look like? Well, restaurants and bars will have limited sit-down options. Salons and gyms would open with limited restrictions in place, and in-person gatherings up to 25 people will be allowed. A county will remain in phase 1 for at least 21 days before a potential move to phase 2. Now, phase 2 is considered higher risk. After 21 days in phase 1, counties continuing to meet the prerequisites may be able to enter phase 2. The goal in this phase is to increase crowd sizes and mobility. Eligible counties can have in-person local gatherings up to 100 people with physical distancing. That number is subject to change, though. People can also visit nursing homes again with limitations, and office work can resume. Now, phase 3 is considered the highest risk and would require reliable treatment or a vaccine. A timeline has yet to be released for this phase. Once implemented, though, it will allow concerts, conventions, festivals, and live audience sports to return. Meanwhile, more information on large gatherings scheduled for later in the fall will be provided this summer. But for now, all large gatherings should be canceled or modified through at least September. Well, several weeks after the National Frozen Food Corporation in Albany first revealed a coronavirus outbreak at the plant, workers are slowly returning to their jobs. Our Stephanie Rothman has been following this story and joins us live in the studio tonight with more. Stephanie?
Jacqueline, production has been on hold since April 23rd after 8 employees and 2 family members originally tested positive. And Linn County Public Health now says the number of positive cases linked to the plant has tripled. According to Linn County, a total of 30 employees and 4 family members have tested positive for COVID-19. The company tested workers last week at a drive-through testing site, and the local labor union says all workers who have the virus are at home recovering. The rest of the workers that tested negative are slowly going back to work, getting businesses going again for employees as well as companies that work with the facility.
No, we have been relatively busy. Now, out of this plant particularly, yeah, this is a pretty big stop for us, and it was down for a couple weeks, so that was a hit.
At this point, it's unclear whether or not all of their health workers have resumed work, and the plant is also still under inspection by OSHA, but we will have more details at 5:30. Jacqueline?
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Well, now let's recap coronavirus numbers statewide. Oregon Health Authority announced 73 new cases and 6 more deaths. Oregon has nearly 3,000 cases and 121 deaths. Despite those numbers, today, Governor Brown, with her stay-at-home orders, says the state has prevented 70,000 coronavirus cases. There was also a record low of 100 hospitalizations in the state. Moving into our region, numbers have remained fairly the same. Compared to up north, Benton County added 4 cases, jumping up to 44. Linn County still has the most in our region and remains at 99. Here in Lane County, we added a case, bringing the total up to 57. The new case is a person in their 50s from Eugene Springfield who is recovering at home. Deschutes County added 2 cases and has 83 now. Douglas County stands at 24. Coos County remains at 28. Well, Linn County Sheriff's Office is asking for help identifying human remains found earlier last month in Willamette National Forest just east of Sweet Home. Deputies say the investigation shows the remains are a white woman between 30 to 50 years old with short, wavy brown hair, similar to this sketch done on your screen. Now, she was wearing a purple athletic jacket, teal-colored camisole, black boots, and blue jeans. Deputies say her remains could have been there from between 8 weeks to a year. DNA was submitted for testing and results are pending. Anyone with information is asked to contact Linn County Sheriff's Office. Well, the Republican headquarters in downtown Roseburg was vandalized yesterday, and now the FBI is involved. NBC 16's David Ochoa has the story.
Playing this dirty, it's not cool. broken windows and graffiti threatening the president. That's what workers at the Republican headquarters in downtown Roseburg were met with Wednesday morning.
Of course, it's politically motivated, and it needs to stop. And I don't think our community wants to put up with this.
About $5,000 worth of damage was done to the building. But the writing on the wall is what is getting the attention of a lot of people, including the Secret Service.
We talked to Secret Service. They said that they would declare this as a threat to the president.
We reached out to the Secret Service. They said they're aware of the incident but can't comment on protective intelligence investigations. The staff has covered up some of the graffiti with cardboard, which is facing Washington Avenue for everyone to see.
This isn't the first time that the headquarters has been vandalized. They've been egged, and just 2 weeks ago they had Burn It Down spray painted on the side of their building. In fact, the paint on the wall behind me is only 10 days old because they painted over that.
The Republican headquarters have also been broken into and had a bust of the president stolen.
I think it's going to escalate more. We're asking the owner of the building to get glass insurance because I don't know if this is going to be the end of it.
Curry doesn't think this was something that happened in the heat of the moment.
And the reason I think it was premeditated is they saw the cameras, they knew where the cameras were, and then they came at such a dark time that it didn't show up.
This is one of the few recent incidents in downtown Roseburg. Last week, Roseburg police arrested a man for damaging buildings downtown, and a woman was charged with writing on several businesses with a marker. Because of these incidents, Roseburg police say they'll be increasing patrols in the downtown area. Reporting in Roseburg, I'm David Ochoa.
Republican candidate for Oregon's 4th Congressional District, Alex Skarlatos, released a statement condemning the vandalism. Skarlatos said in a statement, quote, "There's no room for acts of political violence in America. This is shocking and unacceptable." Well, moving on to a first look at weather now. NBC 16's Heather Melendez joins us. Hello, Heather.
Hi. Well, it's Friday Eve and it was hot, Jacqueline. Hopefully you walked Ollie because tomorrow is going to be even hotter. Right now, those out in Roseburg are seeing temperatures in the mid-70s. And again, we are seeing some clear skies outside, which is allowing us to warm up. Not much cloud coverage, but as those clear skies move on eastward, we are getting some double-digit wind speeds along the coast and even those out in the valleys as well. It's not really creating a wind chill for us. For tonight, we will see some lows in the 40s. We'll manage to warm back up into the 50s for tomorrow, seeing some clear skies and plenty of sunshine. Although I do have to warn you, temperatures will skyrocket into the mid-80s for tomorrow. Although those out on the coast are seeing a beautiful sea breeze, it will be warm and it will continue to get warmer as we head into our Mother's Day weekend. We'll see temperatures in the upper 80s for a couple of days, but rain will return. I'll have all those details in my full weather forecast.
All right, sounds good, Heather. Thank you. Well, moving on to the nation's capital, a live look for you tonight, where more than 33 million people have filed for unemployment since the pandemic hit the U.S. Now, Congress is looking at another stimulus package, but this time the cash will arrive monthly. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman explains.
As the number of infected keeps rising, the number of people with jobs going down. New figures show another 3 million plus filed for unemployment last week, 33 million since the crisis began. Congress now negotiating a second CARES Act. Speaker Pelosi said it'll have to include money for states and cities that have run out to pay those on the front lines.
These people risk their lives to save other people's lives, and they may now lose their jobs. It's just not right.
There are also proposals, though certain to be scrutinized, of $2,000 in recurring monthly payments to most Americans, while industries asking for help have to show they're giving back too, like airlines accused of not refunding passengers who had to cancel trips.
In effect, you are, forgive me, screwing the very taxpayers whose money is going into your pockets.
If a passenger under current law and regulation is entitled to a cash refund, they're getting it. It ought to be clear to them that they're entitled to a refund, and I truly regret that. But I don't think we're misleading anybody.
Well, hey, everybody, I'm Vice President Mike Pence.
More supplies, he promised, are on the way to the most vulnerable communities, while staying safely outside of this Virginia rehab center and nursing home.
To help deliver some additional personal protective equipment, you all are receiving one of the first installments of PPE that's going to be going to every nursing home in America.
Back at the White House, it turns out one of the president's personal assistants, a military valet, has tested positive for the virus. Both the president and vice president were tested again. Both results came back negative. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Back here in Oregon now, more than 19,000 people filed for unemployment last week. The Employment Department has received more than 381,000 claims since business closures began in mid-March. More than 10,000 applications for pandemic unemployment assistance benefits for workers not eligible for regular unemployment benefits have been processed so far since the program started 2 weeks ago. Some good news, both the national and local numbers are down from the week before. Well, the current struggle of the restaurant business has had a domino effect on other industries. Today, Senators Jeff Merkley and Ron Wyden announced that $16 million from the CARES Act will be going to Oregon fisheries, fishing businesses, and more. Senator Merkley, along with Senators Lisa Murkowski and Jack Reed, are leading a bipartisan group of lawmakers pushing for further assistance for the seafood industry. In speaking with the senator, he mentioned Pacific Seafood as an example, saying the company has seen more than half their sales collapsing.
And that affects everyone all down the line back to our fishermen on the coast. So I've worked with them. We've proposed a $2 billion fund to buy seafood across the country and help get it to food banks. An additional $1 billion to go directly to disaster relief through NOAA for our worst hit fisheries.
The senators are requesting aid for the seafood industry be considered and be part of the next coronavirus aid package. Well, with several farmers markets across the state of Oregon still closed, some sellers are feeling a financial pinch. Our Cassandra Gutierrez joins us live in the studio with the details tonight. Cassandra?
Jacqueline, one Oregon flower shop, C&K Gardens out of Molalla, tells us they are struggling financially right now, but continue to want to spread the joy of giving and receiving flowers. With Mother's Day weekend coming up, they are sure sales will pick up, as this is their busiest weekend of the year. One employee mentions they prep all week for this weekend.
So what that looks like is we gather flowers. We pre-make bouquets the night beforehand. So we'll make a few dozen bouquets just to kind of get a head start, and then we'll pick flowers on our fields.
She mentions they would typically be selling at 4 different markets. However, Lane County Farmers Market has been the only one they have been able to sell at since the pandemic began. The market remains open while practicing social distancing protocols. The Lane County Farmers Market hours are from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The first hour is reserved for those who are high risk. Coming up in our 5:30 show, we hear from the owner who started this garden nearly 2 decades ago and what keeps him going during these trying times.
All right, thank you, Cassandra. Well, coming up next on NBC 16 at 5, the air quality is increasing and the coast is clean as well. We have the details.